The first time I ever commissioned an artist was in 2016, and it would always be on and off. I never really had scheduled times when I wanted to get commissions. It would always just be spur of the moment kind of thing. And it was like that until 2020. And then post-pandemic, I started hiring artists monthly for commissions because I'm working on some commercial projects of mine. And something I've always known when I started working with artists is that you need to discuss things within the DMs. You need to figure things out in the DMs. And from that point on, you can see what the artist wants to do and what the artist doesn't want to do. Like I said, I've been hiring artists since 2016. And I can tell you from my own experiences that I've never been declined a commission from artists. And it's because usually I'm a very milquetoast kind of guy. I don't really like super spicy stuff. I'm not really crazy about NSFW or anything of that nature. The most like sensual photo that you probably will ever see that I've commissioned is maybe a female character putting their head on a male character's shoulder or something of that nature. And that's pretty much about it. But some people have terms of services in their portfolios or their websites, and they'll tell you that they don't draw furry, they don't draw NSFW, they don't draw like anything like bloody gore. And you know, artists have these TOS for themselves so they can let you know that they don't draw these things. But sometimes they don't have certain things in their terms of services, which is why you still DM them. You still, you know, try to figure out what is open for them to draw and what is closed off for them to draw. And this leads me into today's video. An artist named Nico opened up their VGEN commissions, and this person named Richie decided to DM them, of course, and ask about commissions, I guess, maybe pricing, so on and so forth. And I guess for the commission, Richie decided to give them an LGBTQ relationship idea or something of the nature. And Nico is religious. From what I've seen, people say that they are Islamic or something of the nature. I'm not sure exactly what it is. And Nico declined to draw it because Nico doesn't draw queer couples because it's against their religion. So I'm assuming they're probably Islamic, maybe Christian, I don't know. But they declined to draw either way. Now, trust me when I say this, I can understand you being disappointed if you commission an artist for something and they say, hey, look, this is not something I want to draw. It's gonna bring disappointment to you. I understand that. But a normal person would just say, okay, you know what? They don't want to draw this. It's fine. I can find another artist who wants to draw this. And, you know, you just go about your day. My biggest problem, though, is that Nico respectfully declined to draw Richie's idea. And if you're commissioning an artist, it's okay to feel disappointed when you want to commission them for something and they decline it. You may really like that artist and you may really like their art style. But if they don't want to draw something, what you just do is say, okay, that sucks, but I'm going to go find another artist who wants to draw what I want to draw. And that's pretty much the end of it. You don't really make a scene about it. You go about your day. They go about their day. Life goes on. But Richie didn't do that. What Richie did instead was post the DMs and say, hey, gang, this artist doesn't draw queer stuff, so I wouldn't recommend going to them for commissions. Now, the post went viral, of course. That's how I saw it in the first place. And there were some people who were supporting Richie, and there were other people who were pushing back against Richie and calling out the nonsense that Richie was up to. Now, Richie made a follow-up post a couple of days later at the time of this recording, and Richie was like, I don't condone any harassment. But realistically speaking, you knew what you were doing, Richie. Nobody's dumb. Nobody's retarded. Maybe you are, but nobody's retarded. We all saw what you were trying to do. You were trying to paint him out as a homophobe. You were trying to get target harassment. If you really cared about your mutuals and you were like, hey, I wanted to just prevent my mutuals from being disappointed if they wanted to commission this person, you would have went to their DMs. You would have just told them, hey, this artist, they have great artwork, but they don't draw any queer kind of content. So if you're looking for that, you're probably not going to get it from that person. So I would recommend you go find another artist if you're looking for queer related content. And that would have just been the end of that. But you didn't want to do that. You wanted the harassment, and to pretend as if you didn't want the harassment is nonsensical. Nobody is dumb. No one with an IQ over room temperature is going to believe anything you're saying. And your post even went and borderline into nonsensical territory. You started going on about heterophobia not existing, and you started talking about white racism, which I'm going to read in my goofy voice because this is what it sounds like to me. Yuck. Neither do I believe in white racism as a person with white upbringing. White people do not have the same history of experiencing racism as a POC, and we will never fully understand what a POC goes through. Yuck. Garsh. This is how ridiculous you sound to me, and that POC nonsense that you try to toss into your messaging, come on, like, shut up. I'm a black man, so I can speak on this perfectly fine. I don't want your white guilt. I don't care for your white guilt. No one did nothing to me. I am living better than any black person could have ever dreamed about 200 years ago. So do not try to mix us into your ignorance. Thank you very much. And Richie locked his comments, of course, because in his words, he's not obligated to having any conversation with bigots who don't have any significance in his life. Yeah, I'm sure there are some people who are being bigoted in your comments. I'm sure. But fundamentally, most people are not being bigoted. They're just calling you out and trying to hold you accountable to the behavior that you were displaying. You posted those screenshots to make people go on a harassment campaign on that VGEN Artist. That was your goal. You know what you were doing. The reason why you're backtracking is because you didn't expect so much blowback. That's why you're doing it. And that makes me sick. Be better. It's not hard. At the end of the day, artists are allowed to deny any kind of commission that you bring up to them. I'm not hypocritical about it either. If I wanted to commission a black character and the artists are like, hey, I don't want to draw a black character, I don't draw a black character, I would definitely raise a brow about it, but I wouldn't think too much about it. I would just take my business elsewhere, just like anyone else could do. You are not owed anything. They don't have to make anything for you. If they decline, they decline. Be a big person and just move on. It's literally that simple. But anyways, that's going to be the end of this video. I got nothing else to say. So long now.